Mic check, mic check. GM, GM.
GM,
Hey,
GM, how you doing?
hey guys,
GM,
YGG
GM.
AMA. What's up? What's up? What's good? We got the whole crew here. And yeah, thanks for dropping by for another YGG AMA together with the community. And of course, tonight we have very special guests. We have our friend from Revolving Games talking about one of their most exciting projects and something that we've actually been keeping our eyes on for a very long time. Dragoon, Decentra, how you guys doing?
Doing pretty good. Can't complain, quietly building, just kind of doing what we do.
Yeah, I'm good too. We've got a lot of stuff on. Obviously, coming up to our imminent mint and our exciting game release. So there's a lot of stuff happening right now. But yeah, Zach obviously gave me the opportunity to pop in here and talk to you guys today. So yeah, super excited about it.
Good stuff. Thanks, guys. Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, and I know how busy it is, especially that, I mean, for a lot of us, like the bear market is, the time to build. And as you guys said, we have some exciting news coming up that we will be sharing with the community in a bit. But yeah, before we get ahead of ourselves, so Dragoon, Decentra, why don't you give us do the honors of introducing yourselves and what you guys do for Revolving Games?
You want to go first, Zach?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I'm Dragoon. I'm Zach, community manager for Revolving Games, Skyborne Legacy. Do a lot. Kind of make sure the community knows what's going on entirely and create activations for the community to stay engaged with the brand and kind of what we're building. Keep them informed enough to want more, but not informed enough to where they're too sedated with information,
Cool. I'm Vicky. Obviously, my kind of username here is Decentra. But I'm actually the person that's leading the development of Skyborne Genesis, which is something that we're going to talk a little bit about today as well, which is essentially our prologue game to the overarching franchise that we have of Skyborne Legacy. So we'll talk little bit about that today. But from my side, yeah, I've been sort of in the game development industry for almost a decade now. My main focus has been on, building out games, making cool experiences for people. And my whole kind of background has mainly been in, mobile free to play. So I brought into Revolving Games, obviously to bring this product forward. It's been a wild ride. Everybody knows what the last kind of 8 to 12 months has been like. It's been a lot of learning, a lot of things happening in the industry. So yeah, it's been a challenge to build, as you said. But yeah, that's me. Just, been a gamer my whole life. And then building games the rest of my kind of adult life. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, 100%, right? Especially that, we are going to be about experiencing the next generation of Web3 and crypto games, right? And hats off to you guys for putting in the work. And it's, it's really an exciting time it's really exciting to be here. It's really exciting to see what you guys have been cooking. But for everyone at home who's hearing about Revolving Games and one of their flagship projects, we have some videos that we want to share with everyone. Senpu, cue video. Let's go. Nice. I mean, so not many of us have actually seen Skyborne Legacy, right? But in a bit, we are going to be showing some footage that we've scraped off the interweb. But yeah, before that, we'd love to get to know more about the game from you guys over at Revolving firsthand. So, for the community who's hearing about the project for the first time, would you mind doing us the honors of sharing the elevator pitch for the project? No, I think you're in mute, Dragoon. I think you lost. Or is it my internet? Mic check.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Fire. So we're gonna let Decentra take the early version because she's gonna explain kind of like the early lore behind Skyborne and what that leads to for Legacy, and then I can kind of take over from there.
Yeah, so cool. So again, just to reiterate, one of the things that we've kind of most recently started talking about, and we'll be talking a little bit more about this over the coming weeks, is the imminent release of our prologue game for Skyborne Legacy, which is this, big IP and big franchise that we're building here at RG. So again, the game that I'm working on at the moment is called Skyborne Genesis. What we've been referring to up until this point, for those who've been engaged with our community, is called Project Wildlands. That was the internal name. And last week, we actually got to release the main website for Skyborne Genesis. But just to bring you up to speed on what the game is, essentially, it's kind of like a social questing game where you'll be able to bring your NFT heroes into the game, be able to send them off on various different quests all around the various regions that we have in this world over Wavernia, which is kind of our main continent within Skyborne. And again, because this is a prologue game, it starts obviously before, like we can see here on the image that's being shown on the screen, it starts before Skyborne Legacy. As I said, it serves as a prologue to kind of this shattered world that we can see here with all these various floating islands. So where we're starting with Genesis is before this kind of shattering has really happened. And you will, I don't want to spoil too much, but you'll be experiencing some of those events that are leading up to this shattering during Skyborne Genesis. And as I said, your heroes, obviously your NFTs, all their various traits are all going to be super important in Genesis. And actually, they'll actually impact your ability to earn rewards through Genesis. And those rewards that you will earn, whilst we're playing in this prologue game, in this prologue world of Skyborne Genesis, you'll be able to actually bring those rewards forward with you into some of the other games in the franchise as well. Just to go back to what Zach said about where we're at in this world, we're really beginning at kind of the main point or the main kind of starting point in Skyborne lore. And we will release more information about these various regions, the things that are happening, obviously, over the coming months as we get closer and closer to launch. But one of the exciting things about the game, which I can definitely talk about today a little bit, is that we're going to have, various seasons that will come out with Genesis. We'll obviously start with our first season, which will go out, our prologue, essentially. We'll set up the game there. We'll have, the first set of players coming in with their NFT heroes that they'll get from the mint that we do. Starting to do, the very first set of quests, starting to build up or stockpile their rewards, their resources. And then what we want to do is, as I said, kind of come out with these kind of very narrative-driven seasonal arcs, essentially, over the next, however many months that we go out with. With each of those different seasonal arcs, we want to bring in, new rewards. We want to bring out new heroes, new traits, new things to collect. And then again, like a lot of these things, I can't really talk about because I don't want to reveal everything right now. But that's essentially what Genesis is. It serves as a prologue to everything else that kind of happens in the Skyborne main games. But what we want is that, people have the opportunity to get in now, right? To get in early and get playing the game and get familiar with our lore and get familiar with the various characters we have and the different regions. And again, as I said, kind of start stockpiling those rewards that they can then take through with them to, the full games when they release. I'm not sure if I want to go any more detail on that right at this moment, Zach, but that's essentially what Genesis is. As I said, a very social questing game where we're all kind of working together through the very early lore of Skyborne, and then kind of working through the events that will lead up to the eventual release of Skyborne Legacy.
Cool. Decenter, so would you mind sharing with us, if you can, when, or an ETA on when the doors of Skyborne Genesis will be opening? When can we expect to get our hands on it?
How do I say this? I know Zach is laughing too. How can I say this without spoiling things? Okay, let me just say this. This year.
Nice.
is what I can say. Yeah, I can say
I
2023
mean,
for
we're
sure.
halfway through the year, right? So
Yeah,
it's
we are. We're getting
not,
close. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, not that
That's
many
the best way
more
I could say it.
days to work
Exactly.
with here and months to work
Yeah,
with.
don't worry. I'm very well aware of how much time we have left. It's like the thing
And
that's been driving me, the last 8 months or so.
and yeah, I mean, we see here on screen the characters for Skyborne Genesis, right?
These will be for
And
legacy.
for Legacy, okay.
Yeah.
And you know, maybe something that I'd want to get more info on here before I share the floor with our community guest Nocturnal and also our media associate still here is that what kind of gameplay can we expect from the first few versions, or at least the one that's coming out this year?
So if we're referring to Skyborne Genesis, or are we referring to Legacy?
So whichever comes out first.
Okay, cool. Yeah, absolutely. I can talk about that. So yeah, obviously I'm very embedded on anything to do with Genesis, and so I can definitely talk about the kind of gameplay you can expect. So, I'm not sure if I can say this, Zach, but I'm going to say it anyway. We have a couple, we have some exciting announcements actually happening in the next few days. I know you guys are going to get a little bit of a first look here, before anybody else will. So here we go. But you will see some cool things. You'll see some cool things that I actually walk our community through over the next couple of days. But I'll kind of talk about them now, even though I can't physically show them off. But essentially, with Skyborne Genesis, the type of gameplay you can expect is, our game is built obviously on our own app chain, using Polygon Supernets. So it is an on-chain game. You obviously have your NFT characters. You'll be able to manage them, manage your collection, be able to see your different characters that you have inside the game. You'll also be able to see any of the kind of items that you've collected, or anything, or any rewards that you've earned inside the game as well. But essentially what you can expect is you'll come into the game, and we have this absolutely gorgeous world map. Like, it's absolutely stunning. So much detail on it. Super, super cool. You have a whole world map that, as these seasons are progressing, you're going to be able to kind of explore, right? And get, various different rewards from all these different regions, and experience the story of these different regions. But the first season we're going to go out with, and again, I know you're not seeing anything, but we're going to go out with the first region that we have, which is actually called Elysia. And again, a lot of the lore and cool things about this region will also be released alongside the game through our socials, and also in a dedicated Git book that we'll have about the game too. So you come in, you'll see this world, and on this world, we'll have a lot of the areas are kind of shrouded by this kind of this darkness, or this cloud that our bad guy, I'll go into a little bit of information about him. But his name is Devarus, and he's this big bad that we have in our story. Again, you can read all about this in the next coming weeks. But essentially, he's kind of shrouded our world in darkness. And as players and as a community, we're kind of working together with these heroes that we've collected to kind of push him back, right? To kind of starting to try and banish him from our world and move him out, and kind of get rid of him, basically. So you'll come in, you'll see this big map, and you'll be able to pop into one of the regions that are available. And inside each of those regions, like I said, they have their own stories going on. They have their own lore. They have their own kind of main characters, and people that you're going to come across during your kind of quests. So you'll see a lot of the various quests. Again, this is all super alpha, because we won't be talking about this for a few days, but here we go. There's gonna be different types of quests. You'll have your standard side quests that you're used to in games, and then we'll also have our campaign quests, which for me are kind of the most juicy ones, right? So the campaign quests are basically our way to tell the story of what's happening in Genesis, throughout obviously our various seasons. So you'll be able to engage with, whether you want to just go for some side quests today, or whether you want to, start progressing your campaign. And of course, the campaign, the interesting thing about it is, like a lot of campaigns we all are used to from, various types of games, it is kind of sequential, right? So you need to complete the previous quest to be able to move on to the next quest, all those kind of things. So you're kind of seeing this campaign kind of expand out in front of you as you're working through the story. And while you're working through the story, you're obviously gaining, those rewards as well. So you'll come in, you'll pick up, whatever type of quest you're interested in doing that day. We have previews of the different type of rewards you're going to see. So as a player, you can kind of make that choice. Hey, what do I want to focus on today? Do I want to stockpile this particular resource? Do I want to go for this currency? Is there a crafted item that I want to make? All those kind of things. And you have that full choice to choose, what you want to do, what path you want to go down, which is super cool. So anyway, you'll find a quest, maybe I've picked up the campaign quest. I want to try, progress my campaign today. You'll be able to go into that quest. You'll see all the information about the quest. Again, a lot of us are used to this from video games, but I'll just, mention anyway. You're going to have a little bit of lore about the quest, a little bit of a narrative to what's actually happening, what your heroes are doing, who they're interacting with, or what their kind of task is on this quest. We'll obviously have various durations of quests as well. So, you might be like, hey, I've got a meeting in an hour. Let me set, my heroes away for an hour and let me come back, and collect my rewards. Maybe you want to send them on a longer quest because the rewards are more juicy. You'll have all those options. Again, it's totally your choice as a player. So when it comes to the heroes, that's probably the most important part for me when it comes to the gameplay, is you're actually assigning your heroes to these various quests. And for me, the funnest part about this is obviously, taking a look at my hero collection, my roster of heroes, and figuring out who makes the most sense for this quest. And it's not even like who makes the most sense for this quest. It's who's most suited to this quest and what does that mean in terms of my rewards that I'm going to get. So again, I know it's really hard to kind of imagine this in your head without me showing it, which you'll see, as I said, in the next couple of days. But essentially, you'll have your roster of heroes there, and you can kind of be assigning them in and out of the various slots on the quest. And as you're doing that, you're seeing your success chance be impacted, right? So it might be the case that, hey, I assign a hero, that hero's not super suitable, their traits are not really matching that quest. And so I might not have a whole, 100% chance to get some of the rewards that are on the quest. But I might have a hero that is perfectly suited to this, right? They have the right traits. And when I assign them to the quest, you see my success chance absolutely soar. And I know that I have a really good chance of getting one of those really juicy rewards. An interesting thing as well is the way we've built the system is there's up to 4 rewards that are supported on each quest. And the interesting thing about each reward is that they actually have their own bracket of success. So even though, I might not roll on the second reward, that doesn't mean I don't have a chance of rolling at the 4th reward. Which is for me is super cool. It's definitely a less punishing type of gameplay. But anyway, you're assigning your heroes back and forth. And the interesting thing to me again is coming from obviously a very different background to blockchain gaming, it's tying in the heroes themselves to the actual gameplay, right? These are NFTs at the end of the day. They have their traits, they have their own, information in their metadata, all those kind of things. And so that was one of the biggest challenges for me, and definitely for, my other designers on the team, is how do we make these NFTs work from a gameplay standpoint? We all know how they work when we look at them, in a collection, we look at them visually, all those kind of things. But how do we make them actually work in a video game? And that's definitely been probably the most kind of challenging in a good way, exciting kind of thing to try and figure out. That's one of the things I'm really excited for players to see when it comes to Genesis, is essentially all these various traits that our heroes have all correspond to a trait in game as well, right? So you might see Zach that has, some sort of super large, sword. Maybe he's a barbarian on his NFT, and that character will actually be that barbarian in game, right? They will have those skills, they will have those weapon sets, they will have those traits. And there might be a quest that's specifically asking for a barbarian type character, and Zach's fuck yeah, right? My barbarian works really well for this quest, and he can then assign that. Or if you're seeing some juicy quests and you're like, you know what, I don't have any paladins or something like that, you can go and pick those heroes up. And in the future, what we'd like is, you can even join in with your friends, right? I might not have a paladin, but maybe Zach has a paladin. I'm like, hey dude, can you come with me on this quest? And we can, join up together, and we can try and, basically defeat the quest kind of in a kind of collaborative way. So yeah, that's the type of gameplay you can expect. You're basically going to have this big map with lots of various quests on it, very different type of rewards, good lore, all those kind of things. You're going to assign your heroes to those quests. They're going to go away for however long the quest is, and they're going to come back with those rewards. And for me, definitely coming from a World of Warcraft heavy background, one of my favorite things was this feature that they had that you could send away your heroes. When they come back, you didn't know if you were going to be successful or not. You knew kind of a percentage chance that you had, hey, you're going to be maybe 80% successful. And that was one of the exciting things for me, is coming back in and kind of opening it up and going, ooh, was I successful? And then seeing what I got, seeing the rewards that I got. So yeah, and then just to touch really quickly, again, all this kind of thing will be very much coming out in the next few days. But once you do start acquiring and kind of stockpiling those rewards, what we're going to be coming out with next for Genesis is actually our store, essentially our V1 store, which is going to have some really juicy, again, NFT rewards in there. And a lot of them will be inspired by our world, but also inspired by some of our kind of special one-of-one heroes that we have in the collection. So I can't go too much details yet on what you're going to find in the store, but I am really excited for that one to come out as well. I know for me, like I'm definitely going to be trying to stockpile as much of my resources as I can to see what's going to be out in that, that seasonal store when it comes out first. But yeah, that's kind of the gameplay you can expect from Genesis. Like I said, it's a prologue game that serves kind of as a kind of narrative beginning essentially for the rest of Skyborne. But I will mention one thing, when it comes to just Genesis itself being this kind of starting point. A lot of the kind of trends and things that you'll see in Genesis, whether it be this lore that we're starting out with, these kind of minions or these bad guys that you're coming across, any of the kind of elemental things that happen in our world, any of the various traits, any of the various species that you come across, all those things are kind of those foundational levels for this IP and for this world of Skyborne. So, at this point, like anything that you see in Genesis are going to be like these foundational kind of points at which the rest of Legacy will also be built upon as well. So any of those kind of things, hey, you can be, whatever hero you want to be, you can tell us whatever story you want to tell. Those are all the kind of things you're going to see throughout kind of Skyborne as a franchise and as a whole. Any of the games that come out with this IP are all going to be kind of based around that kind of thing. So yeah, hopefully that was a little bit of information there. As I said, there's some really cool stuff coming out over the next few days, and I can talk about this stuff for hours, so I won't because I want to give other people the opportunity to speak. But yeah, hopefully that gives you an idea to go back to your original question of what is the type of gameplay that you can expect in Genesis.
Awesome. I mean, pretty interesting to see, right? That you guys are giving your fans and the community, a taste of the next gen, some sort of, you have an open world, and also you have, sequential quests and rewards that's strongly tied into the IP that you're building, right? It's a prologue game that, I think I myself, would be excited to see how this whole thing pans out. Maybe a trend that we've noticed together with, our other partners in YGG is that more than developing a very robust game economy, like a lot of focus now has shifted towards providing very strong ips that could last years and years and years, which comes really full circle with the ethos of what the technology that blockchain provides and how it integrates into gaming, right? So we have one of our community members, our community marshals here, Nocturnal, who has taken a deeper dive into the game in itself. And, being able to hear for the first time that we are going to be getting some really, really good releases within the very next few days from you guys. Nocturnal, what do you have? Do you have any questions, or what piques your interest the most for first maybe Skyborne Legacy, because this is what we've been looking at for the longest time, and also for what's going to be coming up in the next few days. Nocturnal, are you there?
Yeah, GM. So, I was interested in two things that the first time I heard about Skyborne Legacy. The first is the social world exploration and trading. I love games that allow me to explore a vast and beautiful world with other players. The fact that the Skyborne Legacy will also have a trading system is a big plus for me, as I enjoy trading items and resources with other players. The second is the art style. The art style of Skyborne Legacy is absolutely stunning. The game has a beautiful cel-shaded look that reminds me of classic anime. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of the game's world and characters in this art style. Overall, I was very impressed with the game features that I learned about when I first heard about Skyborne Legacy. Ah, I'm definitely keeping an eye on this game, and I'm excited to see more of it in the future. Also, here are some other game features that I am interested in. First is the crafting system, the combat system, the story, and the player-driven economy. I think Skyborne Legacy has the potential to be a great game, and I'm excited to see how it develops in the future.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, Nocturnal, definitely one of our, our really dedicated gamers. When it comes to testing out, the games of that are partnered with YGG, together with our game testers as well. That is led by one of our very lovely core members, Amazing. So shout out to the game testers. Shout out to Amazing. Um, yeah, so for everyone who's actually tuned in, don't forget we are in the AMA voice channel on Discord. So that's discord.gg/YGG. And if you guys head over to the AMA discussion channel, that's where the community is having our live chat, and also that is where you can drop your questions for the Centra and Dragoon. So don't forget, if you guys are watching on the other socials, if you're watching on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, or YouTube, don't forget to join us over here in the YGG Discord. How about you, Sil? Like from the onset, what are your first impressions of the game?
I actually felt like it's one of the classic games that played most likely like a chibi type MMORPG. So like the early days of 3D RPG wherein the um is really nice. I can compare it to something like Tales name. I forgot the exact name, but I was playing an MMO game way back that somewhat looks like the feels of this game, but I think one of the closest looks that I can refer today is probably Animal Crossing. So it's probably like Animal Crossing, similar to Minecraft or something else. So yeah, uh, especially when I'm watching it right now, it definitely feels like Animal Crossing. But one of the questions that I really would like to ask is, it is actually my first time to know about Genesis. So like, is it possible for us to get like leaks on what is the main difference between Genesis and Legacy? Because if I'm not mistaken, what I'm seeing right now is Legacy, right? So, are there any big difference in terms of the gameplay, in terms of the art style, or is Genesis like being the prologue game for the lore itself, or and to the Legacy? With it inherits most of the attributes and carry it over to Legacy, like you're going to have the same type of game and art style.
Yeah, I can take this. So yeah, they're very different from an art perspective. So what we're seeing here, like you said, is Legacy, right? It's a kind of like fully 3D open world. It's very nice. It's very nice, but it's very different to what Genesis is. So Genesis is basically a web browser game. So something you're able to access throughout your browser, whether that be on mobile or desktop. And essentially, the biggest difference for those of us who are aware is that this is what we're seeing in front of us. Legacy is a 3D game. Genesis is through the web browser, and it is majority kind of 2D. So a lot of stuff you'll see is like our 2D art, iconography, UI, buttons. Like I said, the map itself, all of those kind of things. So that's probably the biggest difference, right? And the other difference then is because we're not in this 3D world. You're not running around as a hero like we can see here on the screen, right? You just have a collection of heroes or a roster of heroes, and you're kind of the god, essentially, kind of sending them out on quests. So you're kind of this person who's just managing a roster of heroes. Whereas in Legacy, you can see here, you are the hero. Like you're physically the hero running around the world. You're doing quests yourself. You're attacking monsters. Whereas in Genesis, very much so, you are sending out your heroes that you've acquired to do those kind of things for you. They're the biggest differences. Obviously 3D versus 2D, web browser versus, either console or PC. And then we have, as I said, the difference that I am not the actual physical player, but I am managing a bunch of heroes. They're the biggest differences. Hopefully that answers your question. Not sure if you want to chime in on that, Zach.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. I think that answered. Sure. Go ahead, Jordan.
Oh, I was just gonna say that's pretty much is it. Yeah, what you're looking at here is Skyborne. So Genesis is like the story building for what you see here, right? It allows you to kind of craft your own story as like going on quests and whatnot, and maybe even insert yourself in the lore for the future of like what Legacy has to hold.
Oh, sorry, Sil. I think you're on mute.
Sorry. Hello. There we go. I think I was able to play also some of the games. Like, if I can remember it correctly, you send out like pets, you send out like your characters on different quests, right? And you have um energy or something that can that gets burned out every time you make your NFTs or your heroes go on an errand. So yeah, I think I can visualize on what Genesis is going to have be, and the main difference on Legacy. So we also have some of the few questions
There's one thing
um
just I want to
coming
clarify
from
real
the
quick before we
community.
move on
So
to the next topic, if that's okay. Yeah, there's actually no energy or stamina for the heroes.
Sure.
So you don't actually run out of you don't run out of stamina at all. You don't run out of stamina or energy for your heroes. Basically they go away on the quest and then they come back. You know, there's no fatigue or anything like that. You can send them straight back out on the next quest if you want to. So just so everybody's aware, no energy system in the game, at least at the moment.
So how do you guys like queue it up? Like if you send out those heroes on a quest, is it gonna take them like hours, minutes, depending, or do they
Yeah,
just
exactly.
finish okay.
Yeah, there's lots of different durations. Basically, we'll
Awesome.
have various levels of quests, with varying levels of rewards. You know, there might be quests that are an hour long. There might be quests that are 10 minutes long. There might be some that are 3 days, a week. You know, and obviously the rewards will scale to the kind of effort essentially, or the amount of time that your heroes are kind of unusable because they're on those quests. So yeah, as you said, there are varying levels of quest durations. And again, the rewards will obviously, you know, be relevant to the amount of time that you're sending your heroes out on.
And definitely, I'm guessing that it also depends or the heroes that you're actually going to deploy, right? Like there are certain probably certain heroes that actually performs better on these types of quests. It can actually make it faster or gives you more reward, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, awesome. That's it. Spot on. Exactly. Yeah, there's varying levels of heroes, various rarities within the collection as well. And, you know, some of our heroes that are in the kind of higher tiers, absolutely, like you said, they have, you know, by far some of the most powerful traits in the collection, you know, and those are those type of heroes that will earn you, you know, your most coveted rewards essentially. And then just to touch on that, one last thing is, you know, we do have a couple of you know, we have some 101s in the collection as well. And you will see this kind of being revealed in the next couple of days, but they are obviously the most powerful in the whole collection. You know, they're the type of ones that are going to really get you those super kind of exclusive rewards. But yeah, just to go back to what you said, varying rarities. You know, you've got your uncommons, you've got your rares, your epics, your legendaries, and then as I said, those 101s, those mythics, those super exclusive characters. So yeah, we're used to, you know, rarities in games. All of us have come across those things. It's the same way for not just the characters, but also for the, you know, the rewards that you come across in the game and the various resources. They have their own tiers as well. And again, yeah, just, you know, there'll be various levels of traits that are available on your heroes. I don't know how much I can reveal, but like, I'll just talk really quickly. That, you know, sometimes there might be, we talked about earlier, what Zach might have a barbarian character. Perhaps he has, you know, a low rank barbarian character. He might have like a rank 1 barbarian, whereas I might have a rank 5 barbarian, right? And my you know, my traits on that rank 5 are going to far outweigh Zach's rank 1 barbarian. And yeah, this is leaks. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. But yeah, so again, you know, there are tiers and rarity levels to these heroes as well, even just to their traits. You know, we all might have a rank, but what are our various ranks? And what's the difference between, you know, a rank 1 barbarian and a rank 5 barbarian? Those kind of things. Yeah, there you go. There's some leaks.
Nice. All right, you guys heard it first here on our YGG AMA once again. The favorite spot for YGG game partners to drop all the alpha. So definitely, guys, you didn't miss out being here tonight. So for the Sethra Dragoon, any of you guys could take this question, but I mean, this is coming from the perspective of the YGG as a guild in general, right? So it's a two-part question. Like, first is for Genesis. Like, how can YGG participate and getting a head start and getting their feet wet on the game. And yeah, the second question would be, and how does this differ? How will YGG come in as a guild and in Legacy as well?
So for Genesis, it's more about just like a collective, right? Because each individual will have heroes and be able to quest out and collect resources. As Decentra mentioned earlier, there'll be a store where you can like purchase certain things, but maybe one individual doesn't have the manpower to quest long enough and receive all of the resources that are required for that. And so coming together as a guild will allow you to get the larger resources, maybe the more exclusive things, and hold it in like a guild vault and share it amongst the guild, you know, based upon however the guild decides to break up the items.
Interesting. And how about for Legacy, right? So how does the guild how do guilds participate, and how does the guild mechanic look like in in Skyborne Legacy then?
So Legacy's still kind of being crafted out as far as like that aspect and that mechanic, but I can assume it, and I'm sure Decentra can say the same thing. Is like she's a big fan of World of Warcraft. It's gonna work something along those lines where you can kind of join in like an actual like in-game group, and everybody represents that group, and being a part of that group gives you like a benefit or an access that's usually provided by the group. Like for example, in World of Warcraft, if you join like a raid guild, they usually supply like your enchants and your gems and things along those lines, because the group kind of organizes themselves together to get those items. So something along those lines where everybody working together for like a greater good, but also allows for everybody to be prosperous, is kind of how we envision the guild system to work within Legacy.
Interesting. And I mean, how about for competitive gameplay? Is this something that we can expect from Skyborne Legacy, or maybe even the later iterations of the Skyborne IP?
So competitive comes in different natures. I think you can. This is supposed to be more like Still said earlier, it's more like an Animal Crossing vibe. You usually don't find a competitiveness in there, but there's always a niche for a level of competition, right? Like even in World of Warcraft, you have guilds that try to be like they're world first at doing something, or the most experienced at doing this. That level of competition can come in where you come in as a guild and you want to represent your guild, so you should make sure that your guild has all the craftable patterns. Make sure there's a couple of islands that under your control. You kind of know what's going on like as a unity, and that will allow you to operate from there.
Interesting. This is also, a bit of a pattern that, we've been seeing in games that have been released in the past few months, especially in 2023, right? Where games and guilds have this sort of I don't know, like there's a lot of interest that is driven towards games that highlight achievements of guilds. And from one of the very recent games that we've been looking into from Metapixel, it's an MMO game, but then in the middle of the town there is this huge like announcement board that ranks the top guilds in terms of points in the game. And you're going to see the top 3 guilds, and there's just something really exciting about this, where different guilds can come in and represent their communities in different competitive ways. And I think, yeah, you mentioned Dragoon, that like with the game being in strong reference to Animal Crossing, we won't be seeing like traditional competitive features or gameplays that we can expect from like esports focused games, right? But being able to raise your flag and represent your community in these different kinds of quests, I think, are more than enough to pique interests of players who are very loyal to their guilds. And we've been seeing more and more guilds popping out, especially that more and more games are getting more are getting more features and are more playable compared to what we've seen in 2022, right? So maybe a follow-up question here would be, you guys definitely have a strong IP. I'd want to know, and the community would love to hear, on, what was the thought process in building specifically this type of building towards this type of genre. Like there aren't many, games in your lane, right? And you guys have a potential to be leading, this specific niche. But then, like what was the thought process here? And we'd love to hear about, like the guys building behind it. Like aside from you guys behind the scenes, what does it look like?
So I'm going to touch on the first question, which was, so there will be airship battles. We will have that. I don't know about esports orientation in like integrated into that, but there will be that level of like kind of going back and forth. Now, to your next question, the idea when you build a game is to like not mirror a game, but build a new game, right? Build something, a new experience, right? You don't want to copy an experience and just like reskin it. You want to create something entirely new, and that's what kind of creates longevity. That's what creates a fan base. That's what kind of creates that community that comes back and wants to constantly like feed on everything new that's being given. And so that was the idea behind designing this, was kind of creating something like new, a new experience, a new feeling, sort of thing. I'll let Decentra go more into it.
Yeah. So, as kind of like Zach said, this whole thing, Skyborne Legacy, basically, in this kind of IP, was the idea of two of our directors, basically, back in the day, some guys that I used to work with in the past. They'd kind of had that idea of like, hey, like, what would happen if we were to cross essentially Animal Crossing and things like Zelda? What would happen if we did that? And what would happen if we kind of opened up those things as well into something that's multiplayer? Because obviously, even though there is a little bit of multiplayer in Animal Crossing, but it's not the same as like actually having that like open world where you can come across other people. Yeah, Zelda 3DS. Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of their inspiration for this, and it was like, hey, is there anything out there like that? And definitely, the reasons why we're building is because we didn't see anything out there like that. And I think one of the biggest things, just when you're talking about like what's happening behind the scenes, I think it's something that me and Zach talk about all the time. Is just like the team that are behind these games. Like we've all been building games for a long time, and we're also people who play games, right? We're not just people who build games because that's what we think we need to do. We build them because we love games. We love games. We like making cool experiences. Everybody knows what it's like. Particularly, let's just think about Breath of the Wild because it's the most recent in everybody's memories. When you go in there and like all the things you can do as a player, sometimes you even surprise yourself, right? Like exactly, Tears of the Kingdom or just Breath of the Wild in general is like there's so much cool things you can do in that game and things you would never have really kind of thought about. And they're the kind of things like as a designer that you kind of strive towards creating, right? If we look at like Minecraft, like look at the impact, like the cultural impact that Minecraft has had on the world, right? Like that is like, for me, like a designer's dream to create some sort of, some sort of sandbox essentially like that where players can just go in and, create their own stories and, make anything that they want to their heart's content. And I think that's definitely the kind of thing that we're looking for behind Legacy as well is, you kind of make your own path, you make your own story. You can be whatever class you want to be. You can be whatever type of character you want to be. You can portray yourself whatever way you want. So yeah, that was definitely one of their inspirations. Again, I wasn't here at the beginning when we were kind of, discussing those things, but they were definitely like heavily influenced by, Zelda and Animal Crossing and those experiences together. And what would it be like if we made a game like that, but we made it multiplayer? We made it so you can play with loads of people across the globe. So again, like Zach said, all of this is kind of, still under wraps, still being very much developed. So I'm not going to like talk too much about that project itself. But yeah, that's kind of like how that kind of came to be, and what's going on in the background. Like I said, we're all game developers and game players, and we were just talking about this yesterday. You'll see it in the thingy that's going to be coming out very soon. But the level of effort that went into, not just Genesis alone, but also that's going into Skyborne Legacy. We're building two games at the same time. Like that is insane. And we obviously, as RG, we're building a third game too, which is our Battlestar game. So we are building essentially three games, but on our project here that me and Zach are on, we're building two games. So we have two teams like in tandem building two very complex games. And it's insane. Like I've never been, my history of my career, I've never been in a studio still building like two games with the one team at the same time. It's insane. And as I said, like the level of detail that have gone into these things, not just the games themselves. I was talking about this with Zach yesterday. for like what's going on behind the scenes, the effort that we've gone into for the NFT collection itself. And you'll see a little bit of this kind of being teased over the next few weeks. Like, I think like Zach's mind was blown when he, saw what we actually did to craft this collection is unbelievable. And you'll see a lot of that being kind of teased over the next few days. So in regards to what's going on in the background, I would just say a lot of work, a lot of passion, obviously a lot of stress too, a lot of challenges. But for me, the whole reason I'm in this thing is when we see this thing go out live, that's that crowning moment for me. That makes it all worth it. And when we see what you guys have in your hands, get that feedback from people, see the community get all excited, that makes it all worth it for me.
100%. I mean, like with you guys, as you said, you're building 2 or even 3 different games all at once, right? Aside from putting out a good product, like there is some sort of responsibility that that comes with it, and being able to churn out what people see as the next generation of online games. And it's definitely not an easy task, and I mean that's, I think, also what keeps the YGG community here and interested for games like Skyborne Legacy, that have a lot of promise. And like, first of all, like everyone who made it out here tonight, definitely hats off to everyone, and appreciate you guys dropping by. But don't forget, we are still going to be having a Q&A, so drop your questions if you guys have any for Decentha and Dragoon right here on the YGG Discord. Maybe let's dial things back a bit. Let's talk about revolving games. So you have this team of developers, you have a group of people pushing for what you guys are going to be building out as one of your main IPs in revolving games. How do you see revolving games pushing out more projects in the future? What does revolving games look like into the next 2 to 3 years? Can we expect maybe some interoperability with the different projects that you guys are working on? Or will your IPs be exclusive or mutually exclusive? Yeah, we'd love to get to know more about revolving games.
So to answer your question right away, unfortunately, the other IP that we're working on right now is the Battlestar one, and that's under NBC. And so to do a crossover would require like a lot of like back end paperwork. So I don't know if I see a future collab there, but Skyborne, our home IP, is definitely open for collaborations, and you may see it elsewhere. As far as the team goes, so we have a giant team. We don't just have a team; we have an army, right? I have over like 120 employees. Everybody building out these games, and everybody is like really vetted. That's kind of like everybody has been doing this for a very long time, and they're very experienced. So there's no like hiccups of discussions of like what to do next. Everybody's kind of always ready to go, and they know what to do next, and so it keeps the wheels turning. It's very nice.
Interesting. So even in a Nocturnal here on the back end, when we were taking a closer look into revolving games, right? Like you guys definitely are you guys are a group of people who know what you're doing 100%, and it's really good to see that the IP itself, Skyboard, is in really good hands. So there is a lot of trust from the community, from you guys being able to deliver a product that we think will be something that will be top of mind for the next years and also the next generations of gamers to come, right? So we have an interesting question here from Rolf Baum in the Discord. So he's asking, so how does the team plan to integrate Web3 technology and ethos into the game development processes?
So as Decentro was talking about earlier, the NFT crafting that we're talking about in the NFTs, the NFTs weren't designed with traits to just be profile pictures. the game is developed with the NFT design in mind. So there's an actual like design system for the NFTs to make sure that they fit gameplay. Whereas I think we see, at least right now in the current meta, is collections being made and then games made to fit the collection. And it's kind of unstable. Whereas the NFT collection itself is being designed to fit the game, which is like unseen as of yet.
Interesting. So maybe a follow-up question here would be like I'd love to get to pick your brains here a bit. What do you think what do you think will be the trend for the next generation of blockchain games? And why is Skyborne Legacies, how does that reflect Skyborne Legacy's strategy and building out what you want to build?
So the trend is to make a game, right? I think that's like Web3 aside, we're just building a game, right? We're keeping blockchain technology in mind because it does advance certain aspects of gameplay, like trading and tracking accessories about who owns what. But we're not integrating blockchain into the parts of gameplay that it doesn't need. So the idea is we're building a game first, right? And then all the little things that we've experienced in other just like regular games, like certain terms of services where it may be not wrong, but because it's written in code in their terms of service, we can get in trouble for it. Whereas blockchain allows for more free trade. Blockchain allows for more of free asset trade. Blockchain allows for more of groups like guilds to come together and really like form under an identity. Whereas in World of Warcraft, I'm limited to what the game inside the game allows me to do unless my group makes a Discord, but that doesn't go very far. Whereas blockchain allows you as a guild to exist in many games at the same time, and we just kind of want to be a part of that system, our game. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, from our end, right, in YGG, like we have been focusing on building the tech for reputational systems in Web3 games, right? Meaning that, whatever achievements that you have in one game can be carried over and can be very useful information. You could look at it as some sort of, like a metaverse resume or something, right? But I mean, with definitely with games like Skyborne Legacy, there is a lot of interest from the community to get their hands on the game first. Like this is also, I think, a general trend with other Web3 games, where there is much more involvement from the community at the very early stages of the game. So maybe a question here would be, how does the community shape the direction of what you guys put on the development, put on priority for development? Or is there are there any are there any aspects of the community where they could help build out what you're building as well?
So that's actually what Genesis is for. Genesis is for creating the story, right? Yes, we're giving a part of the story, but we're opening it and allowing for the community to help build the story for the world of Legacy. As of right now, we're still fighting this evil that will eventually kind of like shatter these islands that you see in front of you. And so we're giving the community a chance to like insert themselves in the actual like lore and gameplay of the story. So when Legacy does come out, you may be randomly roaming around on an island and you might see a tribute to a warrior back in the day that is an actual like person like me or you, not an NPC made by the game. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, I might have skipped it a bit, but here, maybe this would be a good question for Desanthra as well, right? So like, there's always going to be this argument of having a game that's heavy on blockchain, but I mean on features of blockchain technology. But there's also a lot of games that are, as Dragoon said, it's game first, right? And this is where there are a lot of people in the industry, naming these types of games that are stuck in between like Web 2.5 games. Would you consider the Skyborne IP more of a Web 3 game, more of a Web 2 game, or is it going to be Web 2.5? And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I
So-
mean, like, actually, Zach, you go ahead because I know you've got a really good point on this one.
I was just going to say, I think all games will eventually be Web 2.5. I don't think that that's going to be the actual like term people use. Again, we'll just go back to gaming. There will eventually be a day where Web 3 gaming, Web 2 gaming, Web 2.5 gaming, new technology will just all kind of go to gaming, right? We don't, when we're playing like Fortnite, we don't talk about, oh, let's go play on Unreal 5. No, I don't really like Unreal 5. Let's go to Unreal 4. Like, that's not a conversation. It's just, let's go play this game or let's go play that game. And that's kind of where we're going to end up eventually, and we have this understanding as a game studio, and so we're operating under that by not kind of labeling like Web 2, Web 2.5, Web 3. What we're doing is we're building a game with the most available and best technology like given to us at this moment, and that is blockchain because of the applications it allows, like I said, the free trade that it allows. It's the next generation of technology that will overtake gaming in general. And so we're just kind of trying to build with it and get used to it now, so we have a better understanding of how to build out a perfect game overall with the blockchain technology in mind.
I think just one other thing I want to add as well is, as you just said there, like, you know, we don't really, like, when I'm talking to my friends on Discord and stuff, like, we don't, like Zach said, we don't go, oh, I don't want to play this game because it's not on Unreal 4 instead of Unreal 5, blah, blah, blah. Like, we don't really give a shit about that. We just want to play the game, right? So one of the things I just wanted to mention real quick, that we're actually approaching Genesis with, obviously, as I said, it is an on-chain game. We've built it on our own app chain, which will obviously have an official name announced soon, using Polygon Supernets. So it is an on-chain game. A lot of transactions that happen are on-chain. But what I wanted to mention was, that is something that not, the average gamer is used to, right? The average gamer isn't used to making a wallet and playing a game and seeing those transaction pop-ups appear. So one of the approaches we've taken with Genesis is actually to try and make that have less friction, right? More frictionless kind of gameplay. So, I don't even know how much I can go into these details. But let me just use another project as an example. There's another project out there in the space. We're using a thing called a delegate wallet. So basically, as you come into, Genesis, you kind of wouldn't even know that there was like a wallet being set up for you. But it would be there in the background. You wouldn't even have to worry about that. The other thing that we focused on, which was a big one for me from the user experience perspective, was to kind of have this transactionless gameplay, right? So like, when you play a normal game, you're not playing World of Warcraft and getting pop-ups every 2 minutes asking you to connect your MetaMask, right? Like, that is an awful experience. We all know this. We've experienced it with a lot of the games in the space. So one of the big things, and again, I don't know how much I'm leaking here, but one of the biggest and most important things about Genesis to me was that kind of, how can we remove that Web3 friction, right? While still having that technology in the background, how can we get rid of that awful experience that we all have of setting up wallets and connecting wallets and getting in, and especially when you're not someone who's used to doing those kind of things, which the average person is not. So yeah, this kind of transactionist gameplay to me, once I saw it, was just, I was like, we have to have that. Like, this has to be a thing. So essentially, as you're playing Genesis, regardless of whether you're sending out your heroes, you're managing your backpack, whatever you might be doing, you won't see that MetaMask pop up at all ever during the gameplay, which for me is a huge win for the team. Like, absolutely incredible. That was something we really wanted to have. There is some other things about Genesis that we did as well to kind of remove this friction. I cannot go into those ones. Maybe I can over the next few weeks as we get closer to the game. They're super cool as well. And again, something that I saw out there in the space, and I was like, you know what, this is something that's really important. But yeah, just to go back to that, like, using the blockchain technology, great. But we all know there is a lot of kind of, onboarding issues with it. And one of the goals we had from the outset was, how do we make this easier? How do we make it so that, the average gamer can come in and play if they want to? Yeah, they might need to grab some NFTs and things like that, but basically removing that friction was like a super important thing to me. So yeah, transactionless gameplay, at least right now. As I said, we put on our own app chain, which means something else that I'm not going to reveal right now, but it's a really cool thing. And yeah, just making that onboarding better. Like, I don't, as the average gamer, I don't want to see a wallet pop up. I just want to play the game. So yeah, there are kind of all the different steps we took to kind of make this a little bit kind of more friendly, more user friendly, and try and bring in, a wider group of people that aren't just, Web3 focused people.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
I couldn't agree with you guys more. Like, the last thing that you would want, right, is, having a really good experience with the game, but then having the game also, require you to go through this lengthy process of, porting your assets in and out of the game. And I mean, if our goal here is to be onboarding, the next, hundreds of thousands of gamers into Web3 and crypto, right? Like, the one thing that we need less of would be friction. And I'm not quite sure who it was, but it was one of the partnered games that we've had an AMA with very recently. Is that they've mentioned that, like the features that, and the tools and the improvements that, blockchain provides for games, didn't have to be it doesn't have to be the whole selling point of these games, right? Like these are meant to be tools that, can even possibly, just be toggled on and off in the background, for more and more gamers to actually, like appreciate the game that's being built here, right? You've been playing the game for a while, and then you sort of happen, you get rewarded with an NFT for the time and effort you put in, and having a feature that gives you the option to be able to send this item out seamlessly and be able to trade it on the marketplace. Like that's what we're lacking in Web2 games, right? Like that's what we don't have. Being able to own your assets. But then the question here is, how will it look like, right? How will it look like with the next games that will be incorporating, the Web3 tech? Something interesting that I've noticed very recently is, I think it's Epic Games who's been doing this, right? Like the games, they've started to promote or started to release more and more NFT and blockchain based games. But then when you go to the download page, or to you go to the game on the Epic store, there's going to be disclaimers about, this is a blockchain game, can incorporate NFTs, crypto, and yada yada yada. But yeah, right, like if you're looking at a really good game, like does that really matter? And if anything, having the option to be able to own the assets that you can get from the game should be actually a bonus. It should be something that you are happy about that could happen, not something that, man, damn, I have to connect my wallet, I have to figure out, how to operate on this chain and this and that. It shouldn't be a complicated process. It should be very friendly for especially the new gamers who are going to be, getting into Web3 for the first time. So something that I'm very passionate about there. But we also have we have a very important question here from Cyril on the Discord. Before we wrap up, we're at the top of the hour. Cyril's asking, so you guys have, community events and also like campaigns that you guys are doing on Discord before Genesis comes out. Can these guys, can the community expect any updates or any integrations into Genesis from any of your campaigns that are happening on Discord at the moment?
Can you clarify a bit? What do you mean, like?
So Cyril's asking. I'm quoting Cyril here on the YGG Discord. He's asking, can you update us on what is the progress with the quest boards you guys currently held on your Discord?
So yeah, so the quest board is because Twitter API. I mean, as we all know, Twitter changes like constantly, and so the quest board that we're using to link the Twitter API to the quest board is like just currently malfunctioning. It's honestly nothing that like we're working on it, and the devs are working on it on the quest board side. It just, unfortunately, Twitter changes so much with the API and everything that's going on. That's kind of why that is currently not working, unfortunately. We do apologize. We are in the middle of like working on a fix though.
And yeah, so Dragoon and Decentro. So what's the what is the best way to be able to get the latest updates from you guys? I mean, aside from Discord, Twitter, yeah. What's the best way to keep in touch for the updates, especially this coming week, the next week when Genesis is going to be dropping?
I mean, they'll be everywhere. We'll be posting on Twitter every day, on Discord every day. We're working with a bunch of communities that have a poker pop-up, inviting a whole bunch of gaming communities to win whitelist spots for our game, whitelist spots for Overworld, and some NFTs from the Knights of Degen. So that'll be pretty exciting. Your community is more than welcome to join us as well. Absolutely. Just a bunch of activations and things to keep people excited and engaged, just in the long run, because right now it's just a community and we're all kind of working together to enjoy what we have.
Awesome. So you guys at home, you heard it first. Thank you so much for dropping by our AMA with the guys over at Revolving Games. Skyborne Genesis is going to be dropping very, very soon. You guys can see the links on your screens. Make sure to drop a follow, join them on Discord, and make sure to be checking the website for any updates in the very near future. So Dragoon, Decentra, thank you so much for dropping by. We would love to hear from you guys again once Genesis is out, and we definitely can't wait to get our hands on the game. Once again, my name is John Sedano. Dragoon, Decentra, do you guys have any last parting words for the community? Go for it.
We're excited to see YGG maybe come in and be one of the bigger guilds within Genesis. We hope to definitely see y'all there.
Yeah, just to echo Zach's sentiment, obviously great to connect with you guys. Super cool to actually be here, right? I don't get to do these things a lot, and there's a lot of stuff that I can talk about and really cool things I can leak. So I like being here, and thanks for giving me that opportunity. Really appreciate it, and hope to see you guys not just to the collection, but also in the game soon.
For sure, 100%. Thanks, Decentra. It was great talking to you guys. We'd love to hear from you guys soon. Dragoon, it's been an honor. Nocturnal. So, YGG community, this is the YGG official AMA. We will be seeing you pretty soon. We have some major announcements coming up within the next 24 to 48 hours. Make sure to stay tuned. And, yep, we'll be seeing you guys in the metaverse. Peace out. Cheers. Bye-bye.